Sarah watched the monitor. Little Leo slept soundly. He was a tiny form in his crib, so small, so vulnerable. The nightlight, a smiling moon, cast a dim glow. It painted the nursery in shades of grey, shadows stretched long from the furniture. They twisted familiar shapes into lurking things. The monitor was her lifeline, a small, flickering screen in her dark living room. Leo's image was grainy, sometimes it jumped. Tonight a soft static hummed. It was usually a comforting sound, white noise, a lullaby of sorts. But this night the static felt different. It held a new, unsettling edge. She leaned closer to the speaker. Were those voices, faint whispers, hidden beneath the crackle and hiss, probably just interference? The old house groaned often. Or perhaps it was her tired mind. Late nights and early mornings played tricks. She tried to dismiss the uneasy feeling. A cold knot began to tighten in her stomach, but the whispers did not stop. They grew a little louder. A little clearer, too rhythmic for random noise. Like hushed words, just beyond understanding. A soft, sibilant sighing from the machine. Her heart began a faster beat. She turned the volume up. Just a fraction. An icy tendril of fear touched her spine. She couldn't tear her eyes away. The whispers continued, relentless. Her hands began to tremble. She reached for the monitor, hesitating. With a quick motion, she turned it off. Silence filled the room, but the unease lingered. Sarah told herself to be calm. It was nothing, just the house settling, or maybe the neighbor's television. Sleep deprivation was a cruel companion. She focused on Leo's peaceful form on screen, his gentle breaths in, out. But the whispers coiled around that image. Like ghostly serpents, they were insistent. The whispers started to form patterns, not words she knew, not human sounds, a strange cadence, a chilling melody. A coldness seeped into the living room. The smiling moon nightlight in Leo's room flickered. On the monitor screen, it pulsed erratically, or was that just her tired eyes? The dread inside her grew, sharp and cold. Anxiety clawed at her throat. She felt watched, a prickling on her skin. Not just Leo, her. The whispers were louder now, no longer soft. They felt close, as if someone was standing right beside the crib, or perhaps right beside her. She scanned the dark corners of her own room, then a sudden, stark silence. The whispers vanished. The static died for one long, terrible heartbeat. Then a new sound, a voice, guttural, raspy, filled with ancient malice. It snarled from the monitor's speaker. "He belongs to me." The screen erupted in a violent, snowy distortion. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest, the room closing in around her. She could feel the presence, dark and oppressive, as if it was breathing down her neck. Her eyes darted around, searching for the source of the voice, but all she saw was the empty crib, Leo no longer there. A scream tore from her throat, echoing through the silent house. Terror seized Sarah, cold, absolute, the voice. Oh God, that voice. It wasn't human, it couldn't be. Those words, "He belongs to me," they echoed in the sudden ringing silence, a claim, a threat, a promise. Her blood turned to ice in her veins. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Then the spell broke, adrenaline surged. A scream tore from her, silent in her mind. She dropped the monitor. It crashed to the floor. The screen went black. Dead. Leo. Her baby. She had to get to him. Her legs moved, pounding the hallway floor, each step an eternity. The passage seemed endless. Darkness pressed in from all sides. She threw open the nursery door. "Leo!" she cried, her voice hoarse. The room was dark. The moon nightlight was out. Only faint moonlight seeped through the window. The crib. She lunged towards it, her hands grasped frantically at the bedding. Empty, the blankets were tossed aside. A small, perfect indentation where he had been. Her gaze darted wildly around the room, the window. It was open, wide open. Cold night air swirled in, chilling her to the bone. The curtains billowed like ghostly shrouds. And there, on the dusty windowsill, tiny footprints, impossibly small, leading out onto the sloping roof, upwards towards the black, starless sky. Sarah collapsed to her knees, sobs racking her body. The emptiness was overwhelming. She looked out the window, despair filling her heart. The night offered no answers. Alone, in the darkness, she felt the weight of the silence. It was deafening. Time seemed to stretch, each second an eternity. The silence was absolute. She stood, a silhouette against the window, the faint glow of the night sky, her only companion. Her hand pressed against the cold glass, seeking comfort in the chill. The night whispered back. Panic gave way to a chilling, desperate fear. Those footprints, so tiny, so fragile. Leo couldn't walk. He could barely crawl. How could he reach the window? How? The thought gnawed at her mind. The cold night air bit at her exposed skin, a mirror to the icy dread consuming her soul. She felt utterly alone. She stumbled to the window, her hands shaking, her fingers fumbled with the cold frame. She had to see. She hoisted herself up, looked out. The roof tiles glistened, slick with dew. The night was eerily silent. The world outside was a vast, indifferent darkness. Streetlights cast pools of sickly yellow light below. Shadows danced. For a moment nothing, just the empty night. Then her eyes adjusted to the gloom. Shapes began to form. Across the way, on the peak of a neighbor's roof, a silhouette against the dying city glow. It was watching. A figure, tall, impossibly thin, cloaked in something dark that rippled. It seemed almost otherworldly. It stood perfectly still. A dark statue, watching, waiting, or perhaps departing. The air felt heavy, and in its long, spindly arms, a bundle, a small, still bundle. Leo. Her heart sank. It had to be Leo. The figure seemed to turn its head slowly. Time felt like it was stretching. A silent scream ripped through Sarah. It was swallowed by the vast, uncaring night. She felt powerless. The figure remained, a dark stain on the horizon, holding her son, holding her world. The night seemed endless. The whispers, the snarl, the empty crib, it was all real. Horribly real. The nightmare was just beginning. The chilling night had just begun, and its horrors were far from over. The darkness seemed to close in. Shadows grew longer, more menacing. The night was alive with unseen terrors. She felt trapped. Time seemed to crawl, each second an eternity. The night stretched on, filled with dread. She reached out into the darkness, her hand trembling. The unknown loomed large, a constant threat. Her eyes darted around, wide with fear. Every shadow, every sound, a potential danger. The night was relentless. She stood by the window, a silhouette against the night. The world outside was vast, indifferent. She felt so small. Tears streamed down her face, glistening in the moonlight. The night had taken so much from her, and it wasn't done.